Power law number 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a Pyrrhic victory. The resentment and ill will you stir up is stronger and lasts longer than any momentary change of opinion. It is much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. Demonstrate, do not explicate. So I was thinking, what's a Pyrrhic victory? And so it's of a victory won at too great a cost to have been worthwhile for the victor. So, in a way, Napoleon. No, I guess Napoleon lost the Russian War, right? But yeah, so that was just a flat out loss. That wasn't a Pyrrhic video. Okay, so video victory. So Pyrrhic victory. The law number 9 just says that actions speak louder than words, right? So when you do things, that's when it actually matters. Don't even fucking argue. Actually, Dale Carnegie says the same shit. How to win friends and influence people. His book. He says that you should never ever argue because arguing never convinces anybody of anything. In fact, polarizes people's opinion. They just become more certain and ingrained in their own stupid backwards fucking beliefs. You become more, polarized into believing you're more right than what the other person had. So essentially, it didn't matter. Listening is all that people fucking care about. People care about their own stupid fucking thoughts. So if you can just listen to people, then you can create friends, according to Dale Carnegie. But this is Robert Greene's law, and so he is talking about different things. Okay, so to begin with, he's got a whole bunch of stories, so a whole bunch of examples where actions speak louder than words. Okay, so in the very beginning, we got the Sultan and the Vizier, or the Vizier, and it looks like the Vizier actually looks like Jafar to me in a way, but it's the Sultan, the king's right hand man. So it's just here's the Sultan and the Vizier. So I think this is the Sultan and this is the Vizier because it says this is the Vizier, right? So he's like a creepy sort of Rasputin type of character, right? So this fucking Rasputin Jafar from Disney's Aladdin, and then the Sultan, right? So that's sort of the same titles from that movie. And so here's a story about the Sultan and the Vizier. So the Vizier in this story isn't exactly an evil Jafar, but just a loyal servant. Okay, so he served his sultan for 30 years. His honesty, however, made him many enemies in the court who spread stories of his duplicity and perfidy. They worked on the Sultan day in, day out until he too came to distrust the innocent Vizier and finally ordered the men who served him so well to be put to death. So he said that he had to go to fucking, be put to death, and he was going to throw him in the fucking pen with dogs, right? Just feed him to the dogs. Let the dogs rip him to shreds. And just like Hugh McGarry did with the Shawnee Indians here in Kentucky, just feed them to the fucking dogs. Who gives a shit? And then he also assassinated one of the fucking leaders too during peacetime. So I would like to see. I would like 10 days respite so I could pay my debts, collect any money due to me, return items that people have put in my care, and share out my goods among the members of my family and my children, and appoint a guardian for them. After receiving a guarantee that the Vizier would not try to escape, the Sultan granted this request. The Vizier hurried home, collected 100 gold pieces, paid a visit to the huntsman who looked after the Sultan's dogs. He offered this man 100 gold pieces, says, let me look after the dogs for 10 days. The huntsman agrees. So he's taking care of the dogs that's going to fucking eat him. And so eventually he comes back to court, and then they say the same charges, and the Sultan still condemns him to death, and they tie him up and they throw him into the dogs. But when he throws him into the dogs actually go up to him and they just start licking him, and they start wagging their tails, and they were nibbling affectionately at his shoulders, began playing with him. The Sultan and the other witnesses were amazed, and the Sultan asked the Vizier why the dogs had spared his life. The Vizier replied, I have looked after these dogs for 10 days. The Sultan has seen the result for himself. I have looked after you for 30 years, and what is the result? I am condemned to death on the strength of accusations brought by my enemies. The Sultan blushed with shame. He not only pardoned the Vizier, but gave him a fine set of clothes and handed him over the men who had slandered his reputation. The noble Vizier set them free and continued to treat them with kindness. The Subtle Ruse, the Book of Arabic Wisdom and Guile, 13th century. So the story, right, his actions of actually getting the dogs to like him, to train the dogs to where he would actually You know, when they threw him in there, he wouldn't rip them to shreds. They would just, you know, treat him nice. And it demonstrated and showed how loyal he had been. I've been loyal to you for 30 years, just like these dogs are being loyal to me, and I've only taken care of them for 10 days. So essentially, the dogs were better than the people, right? The dogs were still loyal to the people that was good to them, whereas the Sultan was ready to throw his right hand man away. And it always happens when you destroy your right hand man, then you fall apart. Okay, you see it in the first Batman movie, right? When the Joker kills that was it Rob, that guy named Rob or something, or Bob gun, please, and then he gives him a gun, then just shoots him without even giving a shit. Jack Nicholson, but Jack Nicholson's Joker is not nearly as fucking good as Heath Ledger's. Heath Ledger's put, you know, he fucking put his heart and soul into it, right? He put everything he had into that role. So Michelangelo is this man here with the old wrinkly face, and his famous statue of David, his famous statue of, I guess, the Virgin Queen, Mary Mother, holding Jesus Christ, some more naked statues, right? Nude men, nude women. Let's see. Okay, so where do we go from this story, the Solomon Advisor? That was just one of the side stories. So the transgression of the law comes from the Romans or the Greeks, the Roman consul in 131 BC, by Publius Crassus Dives Mucianus. It was actually hard to even search for his fucking name. He's got 5 fucking names, right? And then he's the son by blood of Publius Mencius Scaviola. What the fuck? How come he's not a Scaviola? You know, and he's not even Publius. They fucking passed the first name, so the Romans do the exact opposite of what the Americans do. All right, so let's get on with this. Okay, so Publius, he's let's see, what does he do? Oh yeah, okay, this is kind of a quick little stupid story. But this guy is a fucking general, and he's a smart fucking general, knows everything and shit, and he orders the engineer to send him a big battering ram because they're fighting a battle and they need a big ass battering ram to knock down the walls of the town that they're trying to take over. And so they go get the great city engineer and says, hey, we need a big ass battering ram, and he's an engineer and he knows the science of it, and he says, well, here, why don't you take the smaller one, which is still weighty enough to knock it down, but it's easier to transport, it'd be swifter and quicker. And you know, he started arguing with the soldiers, and the soldiers argued back and said, look, Publius Lynceus Crassus Dives Mucinius is not going to be nice, is not going to be happy when he finds out that you know, you didn't do what he wanted him to do. He just wants you to obey, so listen to what the fuck he says. And still the engineer went on and on, give him example after example, and drew up all these diagrams, and just really took his point home that he knew what was best. But eventually he conceded and said, fine, I'll send the big one. And then after they left, he went ahead and sent the smaller one. And so when it got back to Publius's Lynceus Crassus Dives Municis's hands, he saw that it was a small fucking battering ram, but he was so incensed about the betrayal, the disobedience of the engineer, that he went back and had him brought to the fucking court and was like, you know, what the fuck? So the engineer gladly explained to the consul one more time the reasons for the smaller mast. He went on, made the same arguments he made to the soldiers. He said it was wise to listen to experts in these matters, and if the attack was only tried with the battering ram he had sent, the consul would not regret it. Mucinius let him finish, then he had him stripped naked, the engineer, before the soldiers, and flogged and scourged with rods until he died. So yeah, he basically didn't give a fuck at all about the great arguments of the fucking scientist, the fucking engineer, even though he knew what he was talking about, and he probably needed him more so. He was just pissed off that basically he disobeyed his fucking orders. Now, maybe if he could have showed by demonstration, beforehand, or he could have, maybe sent both of them or something, instead of deciding one over the other. Then he would have shown by action instead of, he would have shown by action, instead of just arguing. And so the engineer, his name isn't even recorded by the history books. It doesn't even mention the story in this Wikipedia page here. Each man believes he is right. Words will rarely convince him otherwise. The arguer's reasoning falls on deaf ears. When cornered, he argues more, digging his own grave. Once he's made the other person feel insecure and inferior in his beliefs, the eloquence of Socrates cannot save the situation. It's not simply a question of avoiding an argument with those who stand above you. We all believe we are masters in the realm of opinions and reasoning. We must be careful, then learn to demonstrate the correctness of your ideas indirectly. So, that's a transgression of the law, right? So he's fucking arguing, and that's what got the engineer fucking killed. Here's some picture of Uncle Tom, which is going to matter, down the road. So page 71, observance of the law. In 1502 in Florence, Italy, an enormous block of marble stood in the works department of the church of Santa Maria del Fiore. Okay, so you have this big ass fucking piece of block that's all fucked up. They paid a lot of money for it and got some guy to do something, but he fucked it up, and so now they don't know what to do with it. And so the mayor of Florence, Italy, so this is kind of Rome-ish, right? In Italy, the Italians, that's where Rome is. Piero Soderini, Florence's mayor, had contemplated trying to save the block by commissioning Leonardo da Vinci to work on it or some other master, but had given up since everyone agreed that the stone had been ruined. Michelangelo traveled to Florence, examined the stone, came to the conclusion he could in fact carve a fine figure from it. So Leonardo da Vinci couldn't do shit, but Michelangelo da Vinci, right, this man right here, he was going to stand up and be a man and say enough is enough, and I'm not going to put up with no bullshit. He looked at the stone and he said, I could do something with this. And so he went ahead and fucking, turned this piece of crap stone and he made it into some beautiful fucking, this elegant piece. The mayor comes in and sees the piece, right? He sees, I don't know what the piece was, but since, let's see, Michelangelo. Since we don't have the piece available to us, let's go PG. We'll have David's eyes look towards Rome, right? So this is Michelangelo's David, and he's looking towards Rome. And so the mayor was looking at the piece that he had finished and said that his nose was all fucked up. And it was like, no, you can make that nose a little bit better. So Michelangelo was like, oh, you got a good point. No, I can make the nose better. So he positioned the mayor in a different spot with a different lighting, and then started chiseling at the nose and kind of touching it up here and there and just making it look like he's doing all these moves when really he wasn't doing shit to it. He kept it right in place. And then after he had put on his little show, he asked the mayor what he thought about it, and the mayor's like, oh man, I like it. It looks way better. So good fucking job, right? You made it come alive. So Michelangelo took his advice and added to his piece, but without fucking the integrity of the thing. So he acted like he did it. He didn't argue with the person, and the piece lives on as the beautiful piece that it was. Whatever the piece was. So that was Michelangelo's story. So actions speak louder than words, right? So actions. When he showed the mayor he was willing to change, his sculpture around without arguing with him, but tricking him. So that's what they're saying. Never argue, just trick people. Just lie to them and trick them. With an action, some sort of demonstration, right? Some sort of dove pulled out of your jacket sleeve. The works of Amasis. Okay, so when a priest had been disposed in the way I described, Amasis came to the throne. So here we got Amasis, the 26th dynasty of Egypt, the successor of Elprules at Sais, the last great ruler of Egypt before the Persian conquest, before the Iranians took it over. And so this is BCE, right? The 26th dynasty. What happens with him, we're going to find out. He was basically just a renowned fucking emperor. He came from the gutter. He was fucking poor. He had humble origins. He had this foot bath that he really liked. It was a gold foot bath, and he and his guests used on occasion to wash their feet in. So, back in the day, washing your feet with friends was a big-ass ordeal. And so he had this golden foot bath where people could wash their feet in. And they set up in what they thought was... Okay, so then they broke the gold foot bath down and melted it and then created this statue of a god. And all these Egyptians kept coming up upon the statue and just revered it with profound reverence. Well, Amasis tells them the backstory to it and says, well, even though this is a a statue of a god, or a golden statue, golden calf statue of a god. You have the backstory is that it used to be a fucking bath, a foot bath, where people would put their dirty ass fucking feet and pissed in it and vomited in it, and did all these fucking shit to it. So whenever you look at that, he wants people to associate that statue with him because he came from humble origins, just like that foot bath. But then he became this wonderful glowing statue that has the piece of his fucking nose chopped off. So I guess that story went downhill at the very end there. It was written by the histories Herodotus, 5th century BCE. The keys to power, page 72. In the realm of power, you must learn to judge your moves by their long-term effects on other people. The problem in trying to prove a point or gain a victory through argument is that in the end you can never become certain how it affects the people you're arguing with. They may appear to agree with you politely, but inside they fucking resent you. Or perhaps something you say inadvertently even offends them. Words have been insidious, that insidious ability to be interpreted according to the other person's mood and insecurities. Even the best argument has no solid foundation, for we all come to distrust the slippery nature of words. Understand this, words are a dime a dozen. We quote the Bible, verifiable statistics. We will say anything to support our cause. Who can be persuaded by bags of air like that? Action and demonstration are much more powerful and meaningful. They are there before our eyes for us to see. Yes, now the statue's nose does look just right. There are no offensive words, no possibility of misinterpretation. No one can argue with the demonstrated proof. As Baltasar Gracian remarks, the truth is generally seen and rarely heard. Sir Christopher Wren was England's version of the Renaissance man. He had mastered the sciences of mathematics, astronomy, physics, and physiology, yet during his extremely long career as England's most celebrated architect, he was often told by his patrons to make impractical changes in his designs. Never once did he argue or offend. He had other ways of proving his point. In 1688, Sir Christopher Wren designed a magnificent town hall for the city of Westminster. So here's Christopher Wren, right? Highly acclaimed English architects. I don't know, did this, did that, studied here, studied there. He's born in 1632. This is his picture. So you have Sir Christopher Wren, with those gorgeous flowing locks, right? He looks like he's a bald man, but look at that long hair. Oh, so pretty. Very, with that sash around his neck and the vast velvet, and just with his hands just, Yeah, so it's not fucking pretty. It's fucking gross, and no amount of fucking clothes can fucking, change that fucking face. So, fuck Christopher Wren. No, I'm kidding. He's an architect. What's the hate about him? And actually, he's going to demonstrate how action is better than words, right? So the mayor, however, was not satisfied. In fact, he was nervous. He told Wren he was afraid the second floor was not secure. So you have Christopher Wren, who designs this town hall for the city of Westminster, but the fucking mayor's all, the second floor is not secure. It's going to crash on my head, and I'm going to die. He's an engineer, Christopher Wren. He knows what the fuck is up, but he's just going to make him happy. So he went ahead and just placated him, and went ahead and said, build the columns. So they built them, and the mayor was grateful. Years later, they saw that the workmen on a high scaffold saw that the columns stopped just short of the ceiling. So they actually didn't connect to the ceiling. They're just pointless fucking columns just sitting there. Both of them got what they wanted, so who gives a shit, right? The mayor felt like he had done something because he got extra columns installed in case the fucking roof was to fall on his head. And the architect went ahead and got to build the whole building the way he wanted to build it, just with these 2 extra fucking columns, which doesn't change the integrity of the building, right? It's just extra columns inside the building. And yeah, so they both got what they wanted. The power of demonstrating your idea is that your opponents do not get defensive and are therefore more open to persuasion, making them literally and physically feel your meaning is infinitely more powerful than argument. And so we're actually coming up to a badass story with Khrushchev. And I've been hearing a lot about Khrushchev, especially about Russia, so I think it's actually good to sort of learn what Khrushchev, what he did, in his lifetime, who this man was. Is this Khrushchev the one with the big mole on his head? It was either Yeltsin or Khrushchev. This is a Russian prime minister or dictator from some dates to some other dates. He might be the one responsible for the collapse of the USSR. A Russian politician led the Soviet Union during part of the Cold War, served as first secretary of the Communist Party. So he's a known, well-known communist, right? Worldwide known communist from 1953 to 64. He was in office those times, so he was a communist fucking leader, right, of the Soviet Union, the USSR. Chairman, council ministers, the space program. Leonid Brezhnev as the first secretary. Khrushchev. I guess he was just a fucking, just back in the day, back in the 60s or most of the 50s and then earlier part of the 60s. He would be the JFK would have called Khrushchev, and maybe Eisenhower and some other presidents. So that's Khrushchev, and then they're gonna make a comparison to Khrushchev to Stalin because Khrushchev actually fought under Stalin. He was a fucking Stalinese. And so, one time you had a heckler interrupted Nikita Khrushchev, this man here. He's giving a speech and you have a heckler that comes out and he denounced the crimes of Stalin and he says, "You were the colleague of Stalin's," the heckler yelled. "Why didn't you stop him then?" And then Nikita Khrushchev just stopped. He couldn't see the heckler and he barked out, "Who said that? Who said it?" And no hand went up. No one moved a muscle. After a few seconds of tense silence, Khrushchev finally said in a quiet voice, "Now you know why I didn't stop him." Instead of just arguing that anyone facing Stalin was afraid, knowing that the slightest sign of rebellion would mean certain death, he had made them feel what it was like to face Stalin. It had made them feel the paranoia, the fear of speaking up, the terror of confronting the leader, in this case Khrushchev. The demonstration was visceral, and no more argument was necessary. The most powerful persuasion goes beyond action into symbol. The power of a symbol, a flag, a mythic story, a monument to some emotional event is that everyone understands that without anything being said. In 1975, when Henry Kissinger was engaged in some frustrating negotiations with the Israelis over the return of part of the Sinai Desert that they had seized in the 1967 war, he suddenly broke off the tense meeting and decided to do some sightseeing. He paid a visit to the ruins of the ancient fortress of Masada, known to all Israelis as a place where 700 Jewish warriors committed mass suicide in AD 73, rather than give in to the Roman troops besieging them. So this is the 1967 borders. The Israelis are fucking with the Arabs, just like they're doing today. Right? We saw Abraham in the very beginning. Not Abraham Lincoln, but Abraham, this fucking dickhead who's actually he was made up. He's as fucking fictional as, Adam and Eve and, basically all the Old Testament, the Noah's Ark and blah, 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 all of Genesis at least. Maybe Leviticus might be true. No, I'm kidding. So you have Abraham, which is like the godfather for 3 fucking major world religions. Abraham is the fucking man, the prophet, Old Testament for Christianity, for Islam, and for Judaism. So Abraham is like a beast, right? Abraham's a beast, and we're gonna actually hear a story about Abraham right after we talk about Henry Kissinger, right? Basically he's a devil. He does all the fucking backdoor dealings for Nixon, but that's today's America. Today we live in Richard Nixon's America. We've gone past and beyond, farther than what Nixon would have done. George W. Bush and Obama. We're a bigger empire. We're, not just tapping a few celebrities' phones. We're tapping everybody, right? So we all being recorded. And is this recording? I hope so. Wouldn't that get in 20 minutes? This is all bullshit. So, that's not Abraham. They're both Abraham, but this is Abraham. The fucking God's man. So to finish off with Kissinger, he was accusing them of courting mass suicide because instead of arguing with them, all he did was just go take a tour of Israel, and then he goes to a place where a lot of fucking shit had happened, and they had took that as a sign, saying, "Oh, so you're saying we're like that, right? You're saying we're like the fucking Romans." And so symbolically, it could have meant that, or it could have just been out for a stroll, just walking around, right? When aiming for power, trying to conserve it, always look for the indirect route. Also choose your battles carefully. If it does not matter in the long run whether the other person agrees with you, or if time and their own experience will make them understand what you mean, then it is not best to even bother with the demonstration. Save your energy and walk away. I already talked about Amasis and his fucking gold bathtub. Nikita Khrushchev, we've covered. God and Abraham. Okay, that's where we're at now. God and Abraham. The Most High God had promised that he would not take Abraham's soul unless Abraham wanted to die and asked God to do so. So the only way Abraham is going to ever fucking die and be perished off this earth would be when he fucking asked God to take him off the planet. So it's actually kind of stupid. Again, this is actions speak louder than words. He's going to fucking speak up and he's gonna fucking die. So if he never actually said anything, Abraham would still be alive today. So what happens? Okay, so when Abraham's life was drawn to a close, God determined to seize him. He sent an angel in the guise of a decrepit old man who was almost entirely incapacitated. So this is God being action, right? God is taking action. He's gonna fucking kill Abraham, right? He's fucking sick of Abraham's old man bullshit, and he's like, I'm taking Abraham out, right? So Abraham, who was also famous for, going to kill his own fucking son because he's a piece of shit dirtbag, but just shows how fucking loyal he is to God, that he's willing to just slaughter his entire fucking family just because of the Lord above. That's who the fuck Abraham is. In fact, there's actually a bunch of murders that have happened in America where they claim Old Testament type of shit. There was that murder actually with fucking here in Louisville with that kid and his dad, and they lied on the stand and all this shit. He killed the stepson because he said it was Old Testament. He had an abortion. She had an abortion, so therefore he killed her baby, and therefore he was gonna kill his, which is sick because one's a morning after pill and the other one was a 13-year-old boy. So, God and Abraham. So God sends this old fucking guy, the old decrepit man who is nearly incapacitated. The old man stopped outside Abraham's door and said, "Abraham, please, sir, give me something to eat." And Abraham was always nice to everybody, but he was like, "Jesus Christ, just fucking die already, you fucking disgusting, diseased old man. It would be better for you to go. It would be better for you to die than to go on living in your condition." Abraham always kept food ready at his home for passing guests, so instead he gave the old man a bowl containing broth, meat with some breadcrumbs. The old man sat down to eat, but he swallowed laboriously with great effort, and he took some food, dropped it from his hand, scattered on the ground. "Oh, Abraham," he said, "help me to eat." Abraham took the food in his hand and lifted it to the old man's lips, but it slid down his beard and over his chest. "What is your age, old man?" asked Abraham. The old man mentioned a number of years slightly greater than Abraham's old age. Then Abraham exclaimed, "O Lord, our God, take me unto you before I reach this man's age and sink into the same condition as he is in now." No sooner had Abraham spoken those words than God took possession of his soul. The Subtle Ruse, the book of Arabic wisdom and guile, 13th century. So as soon as Abraham says, "Oh Lord, our God, take me unto you before I reach this man's age and sink into his deplorable fucking shitty condition that he now is." So he saw the fucking nasty old man and then asked God to take him so he wouldn't actually, be a fucking living fucking, just a sort of a taker, just a fucking, basically, I don't know. I mean, you could still do things, so. But he was kind of taking the honorable route, I guess, in a way, instead of just sort of slipping into madness or sort of just slowly dying until that's it. Just say fuck it. When you get to a point, just like, man, I've lived enough of a life. Let's go all Hunter S. Thompson. Let's go all Abraham on this shit. So somehow that means actions speak louder than words. So God was able to show Abraham that death would be preferable than to, falling into sickness and then slowly wasting away into nothing. The image that we see for the power law number 9 is the seesaw, okay? Like a seesaw on the playground. Up and down go the arguers. People just want to fucking argue, be argumentative and combative, blah, blah, blah. I know more than you, you know more than me. Shut the fuck up, you don't know shit. Arguers are get nowhere fast, okay? So what you got to do is you can't argue with anybody. Arguments never work. You got to get off the seesaw and you got to show others what you mean without kicking or pushing. Leave them at the top of the seesaw. Let gravity bring the arguers down to the ground. While you're showing them by jumping off the seesaw, they're crashing, right? So the authority never argue in society. Nothing must be discussed. Give only results. Benjamin Disraeli, 1804 to 1881. There's one reversal to this law. Okay, so in general, right, a law is you always follow it, except for in a few cases. There's always exceptions to virtually any rules, even gravity. I've heard some plausible deniability to gravity. So, is gravity real? Maybe. I mean, does bigger objects go to smaller objects? I don't know. When I walk by a big ass fucking bus, I don't go towards the bus. So, is there actual gravity? Does gravity really fucking exist? Einstein, he had a different theory about time and space, and that sort of just changes, everything. So the reversal is verbal argument has one vital use in the realm of power to distract and cover your tracks when you're practicing deception or caught in a lie. In such cases, it is to your advantage to argue with all the conviction you can muster. Draw the other person into an argument to distract them from your deceptive move. When caught in a lie, the more emotional and certain you appear, the less likely it seems that you're lying. This technique has saved the hide of many a con artist. Once Count Victor Lustig, swindler par excellence, had sold dozens of suckers around the country a phony box in which he claimed to be able to copy money. Discovering their mistake, the suckers generally choose not to go to the police rather than risk the embarrassment of publicity. But one Sheriff Richards of Remsen County, Oklahoma, was not the kind of man to accept being conned out of $10,000. One morning he tracked Count Victor Lustig, down to a hotel in Chicago. So, Mr. Lustig is this dude here. I think out of all these guys, he's probably my favorite. Why did I put Uncle Tom here? Actually, before I get into this con artist. This con artist, look at the Wikipedia. It says he's a con artist who undertook the scams in various countries and became the best known as the man who stole the Eiffel Tower twice. He sold the Eiffel Tower. So he was... yeah, so, okay. So, yeah, actions speak louder than words, right? So, actions speak louder than words. So, here's Victor Lustig. He's selling this counterfeit machine, to all these people. And instead of going to the police after they had been swindled by the counterfeit machine, he doesn't, he doesn't get in any trouble. Basically, he got one over on them. He fucking tricked them, right? So, good for him. He swindled him. He tricked him. He's a con artist. He's a con man. And so, the con man... was able to sell an Eiffel Tower. He was able to sell this fucking counterfeit machine. Now you got the sheriff all pissed off, okay? But the sheriff ain't going to take no shit. He ain't going to fucking, report it to anybody, but he's going to take care of it, put matters into his own hand. He's the sheriff. And so he goes there and says, you fucking, you sold me a piece of shit. I can't believe you. He had a gun right in his face, knocked on his door in Chicago, pointed a gun right into Victor Lustig's face, and said, "Motherfucker, you owe me $10,000." And Victor Lustig basically seems like he's a smooth ass guy. It almost seems like it's the scene from Catch Me If You Can by Leonardo DiCaprio, when finally Tom Hanks catches up with him into the room, and he pretends actually that he was just an investigator, an FBI, investigator. I'm an FBI man, and here's my credentials and all this other shit. So Victor Lustig, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, is let's see, he was born in Austria-Hungary, right? Present-day Czech Republic. So this is just like Maximilian de Moscow. Some of my ancestors were from the Kingdom of Bohemia. So they eventually, I guess, the Kingdom of Bohemia was under the Austrian-Hungary Empire. But anyway, okay, so this is in the early 1940s. His thing is, okay, so you have the sheriff who's fucking pointing at a gun at him and saying, "What the fuck? You son of a bitch, I'm gonna fucking kill you, son of a bitch. You conned me. The fucking shitty box of yours. It's not working." And then Victor Lustig was like, "Whoa, hold on, sheriff. What do you mean it's not working?" He's like, "Oh, you goddamn know it's not fucking working." No, that's absolutely impossible, Mr. Lustig said. "There's no way it couldn't be working. Did you operate it properly?" "I did exactly what you told me to do," said the sheriff. "No, you must have done something wrong," said Lustig. The argument went in circles. The barrel of the gun was gently lowered. Then you had Victor Lustig next went to phase 2 in the argument tactic. He poured out a whole bunch of technical gobbledygook about the box's operation, completely beguiling the sheriff, who now appeared less sure of himself and argued less forcefully. "Look," said Lustig, "I'll give you your money back right now. Also give you written instructions on how to work the machine. I'll come out to Oklahoma to make sure it's working properly." And there's no way you can lose on that. The sheriff reluctantly agreed. To satisfy him totally, Lustig took out $100 bills and gave it to him, telling them to relax and have a fun weekend in Chicago. Okay, so he fucking argued with them and was like, "Look, I'm gonna fucking make a whole brand new one and it'll be no fucking problem, okay? I'll come out to Oklahoma and I'll give it to you." And he was kind of like, "I don't fucking know about all that shit." And he's like, "Okay, look, just take some money, have fun in Chicago, and I swear, this is just for good graces, just to show you that I mean what I say. Here's $100 bills. that you could take out and have fun in Chicago. So once the sheriff goes out to Chicago, eventually he gets arrested and he's tried and convicted for passing counterfeit money. So evidently he was able to get either his hands on counterfeit money, or he actually did have a counterfeit machine that had worked. And so in a way, Victor Lustig won the argument against the sheriff because he tricked him into the argument and was able to convince him that he wasn't a con man. He fucking walked away with the counterfeit money, went to trial, goes to jail. Victor Lustig is victorious. So arguing doesn't always lose. It's a way to get you out of a jam if you're Victor Lustig. So, but in general, arguments are not what you do. If you're at a debate, argue. But if you're not at a debate, if you're out in the streets, don't be fucking arguing. Don't argue. You'll never, you'll never convince anybody through an argument. Either they'll already agree with it or they won't agree with it. So you win through your actions. I don't know what I was going to say about Uncle Tom, but Uncle Tom is not a respectable person, okay? And Uncle Tom's Cabin, started the Civil War, but Uncle Tom is basically, yes, massa, whatever you say, massa type of guy. That's actually the Vizier and the Sultan in the very beginning. He was his Uncle Tom, right? He was basically his kiss-ass fucking, yes, massa, yes, Sultan, whatever you do, Sultan. So the Uncle Tom is also Django's character, or not Django, but you have Samuel L. Jackson's character. He's a big-ass Uncle Tom. He loves his massa, right? Very, very distrustful. There's that Django, nigga on a horse. So Samuel L. Jackson, he plays an Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom is a typically racial term, but I've heard I think it's used just for hierarchy. Whenever I use it, it's just for hierarchy. But sometimes there's a racial connotation to it. You have people that call Obama an Uncle Tom. I think I saw a picture here. Uncle Tom right here. Uncle Tom wants you. With a picture of Barack Obama, and that's insinuating he's sort of, selling out to the white people. He's selling the black people out, and he's becoming an aristocratic person that has all these owners and corporations that finance him and tell him that he's doing a good job, and he, kind of carries on with a lot of the fucking shitty policies that I can't stand. He's tried to change a whole bunch of shit, too, so really I'm 50-50 on Obama. It's a mixture between him, so there's been a lot of hatred of him. I guess if everybody fucking hates him, he's probably doing a good job. Right? Is that right? So, yeah. Uncle Tom is kind of like a Sambo or a minstrel character. It's not a good character. Nobody wants to be an Uncle Tom. Who wants to be a kiss-ass little bitch to somebody else? Yes, massa, whatever you say, massa, I'll do as you say, massa, okay, massa, you the boss, and me, massa, you own me like I'm a little fucking, a chicken, like I'm a fucking dog, like I'm a slave, like I'm a fucking, chained up fucking slave that can't do anything and go anywhere and make my own decisions until you fucking say what I gotta do. Who the fuck wants to live a life of slavery? I don't know. So, this is Victor Lustig, right? He's a fucking bohemian, sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Looks like he got a plain face. Slightly balding, but just plain face. Looks nice in this business suit and shit, so I can kind of see how he fucked a whole bunch of people over, right? He's got a trustworthy face. Oh, the Eiffel Tower, you're selling me the Eiffel Tower. Well, how much do you need? Oh, you just need a couple gold bullion bars, huh? Well, hold on, let me get you that gold bullion right away. Here's the gold bullion. I'm not going to read the Eiffel Tower scam. I will end this off actually with the Catch Me If You Can scene between Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio. So we're going to go to YouTube. We're going to type in Leonardo DiCaprio. And then we're going to type in Tom Hanks. And then we're going to type in Catch Me If You Can. And we should get a list, and hopefully we'll get one on the list for the thing I'm looking for. I kind of learned how to type. Here's a movie if you want to rent it. I don't want to rent it. I really just kind of want to just see this clip here. Pretty sure this is it. Good. I was actually impressed this recording software records in HD. It's only an AVI file, so it's a small file.
On your head!
Drafting. He even has little payroll envelopes addressed to himself.
Put it down. Drop it!
Relax. You're late, all right? My name's Alan, Barry Allen, United States Secret Service. Your boy just tried to jump out the window. My partner has him in custody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You think the FBI are the only ones on this guy? I mean, come on. Come on, he's dabbling in government check.
All right, it's blurry. We'll give it a second to load. So this is I'll explain the scene here. You have a 17-year-old kid runs away and he's writing all these bad checks and trying to just make his life off of counterfeit checks. And you have Tom Hanks who's closing in on him, and actually Tom Hanks catches him. But here we're gonna watch Leonardo DiCaprio pull a fast one, and he's gonna pretend, right, all about the illusion, just like Ludwig, fucking Victor Ludwig, Count Victor Ludwig. How's he a count? I bet that isn't even fucking true. Victor Ludwig. It's a it's a powerful name. It makes me think of like Count Dracula, which I don't even know where that even comes from. Bram Stoker.
Here, I've been following a paper trail on this guy for months now. Hey, you mind taking that gun out of my face, please? Really, it makes me nervous.
We see some credentials.
Yeah, sure. Take my whole wallet. You want my gun too? Come over here, take my gun. Hey, look, just do me a favor. Take a look outside. Look out the window. My partner's walking into the car as we speak. Look.
Yeah, he's actually
Old
walking.
guy almost pissed in his pants when I came through the door. He jumped right through the window onto the hood of my car. Hey, Murph. Yeah, call the LAPD again. I don't want people walking through my crime scene.
I didn't expect the Secret Service on this.
Don't worry about it. Well, what's your name?
Henry. Carl Henry.
Mind if I see some identification? You never can be too careful these days. Well, tough luck, Carl. 5 minutes earlier, you would have landed yourself a pretty good collar.
It's all right. 10 seconds later, and you'd have been shot. Mind if I come downstairs with you? I gotta take a look at this guy.
Sure thing. Just do me a favor and sit tight for a second while I get this evidence downstairs. I don't want some maid walking through here and making the bed. LAPD should be here any sec.
Wait. Wallet.
You hang on to it for a minute. I trust you.
Tense situation because he was about to shoot the guy, right? And now he's all feeling, woo, thank God I got out of that ordeal. So that's what Count Victor Ludwig did, right? He basically pretended to be a legit, counterfeit money maker and, trick that guy. So, yeah. It's Power Law number 9. I've finished a trifecta of them. I did Power Law 17, 15, and now number 9. So, everybody be eccentric, annihilate your enemy totally, and let's see some action. Actions speak louder than words. Don't even argue about shit. Just fucking do shit.